A little bit about me. I am a licensed professional counselor. I've done marriage counseling for about 15 years. I'm a registered nurse. Don't do nursing anymore, but kept the license. And I'm an author. So aside from the He Said, She Said book, I've written two others. One is The Gift of a Lifetime, Building a Marriage That Lasts, and the other one is Never Too Old for Romance. I decided I wanted to write romance for an older group of people. But my time is spent making people happy. So I'd like to talk about He Said, She Said, I Said. I don't know if you can see it. You can see it. Okay, that's the book that somebody who I enlisted to do my website and read the book. And this is what she said about it, so I hope Terry's listening as well. She said, this book should be required reading for everybody getting in a relationship. She said she's been divorced many years, but she said she wished she had known about this book and read this book before she entered into a relationship. So that's pretty neat. It's written in a way that you can pick it up and just open a page and read a he said or a she said. And it's written from real, oh, we have a barking dog. Oh no. It's written from some real, one moment, sorry guys, from what actually some of my clients have said and some of the things that I know exist. And you can open up any page and I hear, here's one, she said, how can I forgive him when I can't yet forget what he's done? Well, that's just typical of what we go through. Another one says, when we were first together, we made time for each other. Now there seems to be time for everything else except us. How true are these? These are real, true things that everybody, or most people, have felt at some time. And then there's this one. Sure, I love him as a person, but I'm not just in love with him anymore. So there are things like that that I have put in this book that are real, that we live with. And that's why the book is so easy and so readily giving tools and skills. The great thing that just happened about this book is we made an audiobook of it, because audiobooks now are really important. And we have a fabulous narrator. And as I was listening to the book, I might make you laugh, I might not, I had to listen to every chapter to make sure she was reading it correctly and had the way I wanted to hear it. And I'm listening to this book and I'm going, wow, this is really good stuff. Now don't forget, I wrote it several years ago. So it's out now in audiobook, and I really think that a lot of people are going to be able to hear it. And when you hear it, it means something else than when you read it, because it sort of reverberates in your head. I'm talking a lot, or I hope someone's here listening, and of course if you have any questions, please just put them on the screen, and I'd love to answer them. So, as a relationship person, I believe in marriage. I believe in families. I believe that we make a commitment, and we honor it, and we do whatever it takes for that commitment to stay with us. I don't believe in people being unhappy. I believe that we all are entitled to having our best life. But I believe when you share life with somebody else, it means give and take. So that is why I went into the field of counseling. That is why I wanted to write the relationship books, because I wanted people to be able to look at their relationships and their lives as very important. And I wanted people to be able to see the give and take and the benefits of it, because they surely are there. Two people are much better than one. I know that's somewhere in the Bible. And when we have somebody else in our life, we're very lucky. So those are some of the things that I'm all about. I'm still seeing some clients. I do some coaching as well. And Some of my clients who I've seen 10 years ago, 5 years ago, have called me recently and get stuck in a place, and they say they remember hearing my voice and they just want some kind of coaching, some kind of good word to put them back on the track, and I'm happy to do that. So, although I don't do a lot, that's part of me, and I'm hoping that my audiobook will help a lot of people. I'm also trying to get a 4th book written, because another very important part of family life is the blended family. The blended family now is becoming almost the family of the future. And why is that? I think everyone who's listening knows, because there's so many divorces. And so you end up with blended families, families that have children from maybe 1 or 2 other parents. Well, working that scenario is quite different and a lot more difficult than your initial family. And so I wanted to talk about that, and I wanted to write something about that, because I'm sure there are a lot of books out there. I'm trying to put it in recipe form so that people can pick it up, like he said, she said, I said, and just real stuff, and see what they need to do in order to keep the blended family a special commodity, a special thing for them. But I can keep talking about relationships, because there's a lot of things about relationships that we need. And one is communication. And communication is the big one. That is what everybody complains about. That is what nobody seems to know how to do. Nobody teaches it in school, and so we all think we know. And I've learned how difficult it really is. I've learned it's not just your words, it's your actions, it's how you look, it's how you feel, it's everything combined. And in more than that, it's your definitions. Because a lot of my couples will sit and say, well, you know, he doesn't spend time with me. And the husband will turn around and say, I spend all the time with you. I'm sitting in our great room with you, right next to you. And the wife will turn around and say, yes, but what are you doing? You've got your iPad. You have your headphones on. So here's a typical definition that's not the same. The wife thinks spending time with her is interacting, talking, communicating in some level. The husband thinks spending time is just having his body there. So that's just a simple example, but that is critical of every piece of communication that we do, because we communicate something, but then we think that the person that we are communicating it with understands where we're coming from. So we are expecting the response based on our reality, based on what we sent out as our statement, but that's not what happened, because they're hearing it in their reality and their filter. So they're hearing it at their filter, and they're sending it back from their filter, and it's coming back to our filter. And so as you can see how complicated it really is. So the answer to that one, I've always said, is information. Get information. Ask somebody. What do you mean by that? What are you saying? You know, because information is the key to everything. We can't operate on smoke signals. We can't pretend that we know what's going on. It's like, I don't know how many of you will remember this, but I will, when you were in school and you had multiple choice tests, or you had fill in the blank tests. Well, if you couldn't fill in the blank with the right answer, that was that. Multiple choice, you could guess. Well, it's kind of the same thing when you try to communicate with somebody. And you're filling in the blank of what you think is going on in their head. But many times you're wrong. So your response is wrong. And so be it. That's where it keeps going on and on. So my answer to that is ask questions. What do you mean? This is what I think you said. Am I right? Or do you need to tell it to me in another way? Maybe I heard it. Maybe I'm not getting it. That is so important. And things like that are in he said, she said, I said as well. Because defining your terms is important. We can't have any kind of communication with our children, with our spouses, with our friends, if we're operating on different terms. So it's complicated. And I know that I don't do it all right. I wish I did. Which, of course, people say to me, well, why don't you do what you wrote in your books? Well, that's a good question. I try. But, we're all human. We try, and sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we get it wrong. So the idea is that we allow our spouses, our families to make a mistake, and we go from there. We have to believe that everybody doesn't have the right answer, and that doesn't mean they're not the right person. So we give them space, and we question, and we ask, and sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it's not, and we have to take a step back. That's what life is. Life is not very simple. But it's simple if you are able to find the good in something. Not everything, but a piece of the good in something. But we have to turn around and look around us and see what we're lucky in, what we have. And we have to do what we need to do to help the world get back to where it is. So it's not easy. I tell clients that. But it doesn't matter if it's not easy. If we don't do it, the result is worse. So I wish that all of you would be able to think a little bit about what it takes to have a good relationship, because actually your relationship is what's supposed to last forever. That was my first book, The Gift of a Lifetime, Building a Marriage That Lasts. For those of you who have it, count your blessings, because that is the biggest blessing you will have. That is what's supposed to last. Your job, you may retire, your kids will grow up and go off to college or get married and have lives of their own. But your relationship is yours to have forever. So it takes nurturing. And that's why I wrote the books, because I wanted so much to get my word out there about what we should do to keep it. If there are no questions, I think that this was a great trial for me. I'd certainly like to do it again in some time. And I'm hoping that all of you who are listening get a little something from it, just a small amount, and that will be worth it. And I want to wish you all a terrific Tuesday. And maybe you'll pick up my audiobook, He Said, She Said, I Said, and hear it for yourself. The narrator's great. And pick up some little tidbits on maybe something you didn't know about your relationship. So with that, let me say goodnight and enjoy. Take care.